I've seen a flying saucer.
You've seen one?
Yes,
Where was this?
definitely.
Unidentified aerial phenomena.
To cover up our mistakes.
I've met people who swear they've seen Bigfoot.
Join us for a journey into the obscure.
You are now listening to The Wow Pod.
All right, welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, so tonight, as promised, we're going to talk a little bit of aliens. Just because over the next little while, this is going to get creepy, I think. Like,
We're going to know about aliens. I mean, we already knew. Those of us that knew.
yeah,
The rest of the world is going to know about aliens.
yes. And
It's happening.
we'll give out call-in numbers a little later on in the show. So if anyone wants to call in and give us any of their alien information. And they can also email it in if they want to stay anonymous. Yes, I know. Betsy's smoke detector beeps. It has never.
It is not. Is it?
Doesn't it? There it is.
Oh, I don't even hear it.
I know.
Don't even hear it.
It's probably at one above the stairs.
The one you can't get to.
She was down in her scared room. You can't hear it.
No, and you can't hear me scream either.
Sure we can. You'll have the microphone.
Well, you can, but the people who are supposed to rescue me can't.
Maybe we can use the smoke detector as a time. But yes, it's beeped for so long that Betsy drowns it out.
I don't even hear it. It doesn't exist.
Uh-huh. Yes, there it was, right there. Anyway, so today we are talking about, now we are going to Brazil today. I will stumble on all of the names. All of them.
Not intentionally, people.
Please correct me. You can see Dozer poking her head around. We're going to Varginha, Brazil, or Varginha.
You completely destroyed that. It's probably Varkara or something.
Yeah. Oh, there's a name in here that will wreck me. I swear to God. There's the beep again. All right. So we're going back to 1996. It's a hot summer day, January in Brazil, because you know Brazil's on the wrong
Flip side.
So it's warm down there in January. At 3:30 in the afternoon, three young sisters, or three young women, sisters Liliane and Valquíria. Oh, Valquíria.
It's probably Valkyria.
Yeah, sure. Fatima Silva and their friend Katia Andrade Xavier.
Oh.
So
You need to give these guys pseudonames.
I know. We'll call
Like
Lily
AKA.
and Katia. Lily's 14, Val is 16, Katia is 22. They saw a strange humanoid creature as they were taking a shortcut through a vacant lot. It frightened them so much that they fled, and they ran all the way to their homes about a third of a kilometer away. So if we do that in real math, that's, under a third of a mile. Later, as the investigation unfolded, all right, you ready for the name? Ubirahara Rodriguez. We'll call him Rodriguez.
Mm-hmm.
He's a UFO researcher. He's also a lawyer, and he runs like a coffee estate. This guy wears a lot of hats. He learned that the military police, or they're kind of like state police, had captured a creature earlier in the day in the woods 3 blocks away from that vacant lot where the girls saw the being. And so, either they're earlier that day they caught one, so that means there's at least two of them. What's up, James? So that means there's at least two of them running around.
So they caught one?
Yeah, he learned, Ubirajara learned that they had caught one earlier than the girls saw the other one. So that means there's two.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay, so who's this guy? What do we know about him?
The UFO researcher, member of the Brazilian MUFON, and he's also a lawyer, a practicing lawyer. He also teaches law at the college, and
So he's a legit.
yeah, he's a legit guy, and he also manages his family's large coffee plantations.
Oh.
So he's a busy cat. So anyway, then a witness came forward saying the witness saw armed soldiers searching in the same woods earlier that afternoon, and the witness said they heard 3 shots fired, and then they saw 2 body bags. One of the body bags was squirming, being loaded onto an army truck.
Ooh.
And around 6 p.m. that day.
So like normal sized body bags, you could identify them as body bags.
Yeah, we'll go into the size. Someone talks to the girls, and I'll just jump into it. So the girls kind of explained. Yeah, you like the Misty says, "Nice office, Betsy."
Yeah.
That's Cody's office. Betsy won't go into her office. That a minute ago. She's scared of it.
I should give you guys a tour. This is for those who didn't hear earlier. This is what we call the Wonder Room.
Yeah.
And it's because you never have to wonder where Cody is. If you just pan around, it's like crazy train in here.
Yeah,
it's got a little bit of everything.
Yeah, it's a nice room. Well, anyway, so the girls said that the being they saw was under 5 feet tall, and it was crouched down.
Ooh.
Now,
I don't know which is worse, tall or short.
Yeah.
Like short seem faster to me.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's how they feel.
Yeah, so the way the girls explained it, it had a large head and a thin body, and it was crouched down against the wall, and there's a artist rendition I'm gonna flash up onto the screen, but so there's the girls and overlay, but the monster's crouched down, and it has 3 like protrusions that come over its head. It's got a large head, big red eyes, and all of that. And so that's what the girls said they saw. Now they're not exactly accurate on the size because it was crouched down, so they're kind of guessing.
So crouched down, it was about 5 foot?
No, they're guessing how tall it would have been had it stood up.
I see.
And then, so anyway, so other witnesses, there's a lot of witnesses coming forward. They're seeing soldiers tracking them down. There's like some military firefighters that were involved tracking them down, I guess, kind of like EMS would be. But anyway, so around 6 p.m. that day, another creature, so now we're looking at maybe 3 of them, was captured in the same area, or it might have been the one the lady saw. And then in April, so we're talking, 5 months later or 4 months later, a woman saw yet another one in the zoo.
In the zoo?
Yeah, in the zoo. And
like as a spectator or in the cage?
Not in a cage. It was like running around through there.
Ah.
And then a couple of the animals mysteriously died. And then in May, a motorist spotted yet another near a highway east of Varginha. Yeah, anyways. And still later, a possible seventh creature was seen in Pasos, and that's a city a little bit to the north, a couple miles north of Varginha. You're going to have to find that smoke detector.
So it's either a full-on invasion or there's a couple on the loose that are like visiting local attractions.
Well, yeah, and the question is well, we'll get into that. So in late 1996, a new witness came forward saying he's seen a UFO crash near the city in early January. So maybe the UFO was packing a handful of them, full crew.
And they just dropped them off?
Well, the UFO had crashed, so maybe they just all jumped out. So they're doing the red shirt routine off of Star Trek.
Oh. Now, we talked with Tiago that one time about
this Tiago led us to this one. This is the one he said was the most interesting one.
So it's one of the identified aliens in his book. Do we know what kind of alien it's been identified as?
No, I'll need to drag out his book and
learn.
He's actually
Portuguese.
The other day, he is doing a version in English. He'll send us a copy as soon as.
Oh, so we don't have to learn Portuguese.
Yeah, I don't have to go.
Very nice.
His wife and then. Yeah, a guy named Pacasini. He's another UFO researcher. He wrote a book in 1996 about the case. Incidente em Varginha. He said that an unidentified Brazilian Air Force officer told him confidentially that NORAD had tracked one more of the UFOs in the skies over Minas Gerais. Man, I should have picked an English one. Headed towards the Varginha area and notified the Brazilian authorities. They in turn alerted a big army base at Tres Coracoas, just east of Varginha. And according to Mr. Rodriguez, the date was January 13th, 1996. We don't know the exact time, but also, yeah, it's kind of the Brazilian Roswell, James. Also, there is reports that Mexico had spottings on the same day. So if Mexico had spottings on the same day, maybe it was a whole fleet of them, or the aircraft's just that fast. Because from Mexico to Brazil that's a hell of a haul.
Oh.
So, you followed after the sun came up on January 13th. Claudier Covo, a ufologist from Sao Paulo, and Mr. Rodriguez. They and ultralight pilot named Carlos Souza, or an ultralight pilot told him his name's Carlos Souza. He was driving north of Sao Paulo on the highway to another town. He was about 5 kilometers south of Varginha. So he's on a highway down below, about 15. Oh man, there's a lot of names. We're just gonna wreck on this. Anyways, he heard a strange noise as he's driving down the highway. So he's thinking something's wrong with his truck. So he stops and he gets out and he realized the noise was coming from a cigar-shaped craft about 120 meters in the air, not far away off to the left side of the highway. It had windows along the side and what appeared to be a big jagged hole in the front, a big long crack. And it went from the front all the way back to the middle of the craft, and it had smoke coming out of the crack, and it was heading north towards.
So it had to be really big or really close in order for him to visually see this crack.
He said it was 120 meters in the air.
Oh.
So it
So
was.
we hear about this tic tac shape all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's, kind of the same as the cigar as he's described it.
Yeah, yeah, and maybe it is that big. If it's, I mean, 120 meters. We're talking, what is that? 450 feet in the air.
Yeah.
So it has pretty.
It's not very high.
Has window, but that's still substantially high. I mean, that's.
Yeah, it's not aircraft high, but.
Yeah. But to see windows and everything else. So it crossed over the right to the east side of the highway and eventually passed over some small mountains. Now, Varginha is a very mountainous area, so there's a lot of mountains, so it'd be able to disappear into canyons and everything else. So he's walking, and then it took a steep dive right before it passed over a mountain. So then he's driving up and down the road looking for a small road or a trail that'll take him up over that pass so he could look.
So he can go find it.
So he's poking around. It took him a little bit. Then he came over the crest of a hill and saw wreckage spread over a wide area. And about 40 armed soldiers, 2 trucks, a helicopter, an ambulance, and several cars.
So like Earthlings.
Yeah.
Going to the crash site.
Brazilian military. And so he just stopped up there. And but he did find a piece of very light material that floated to the ground when he dropped it. He picked it up and dropped it, and it kind of floated real slow. The soldiers spotted him and just ran up to him and told him to get out of there. So he headed out. So these soldiers, it crashed really close to that Tres Coracoas. Man, I reckon this. It 3 cockroaches.
3 cockroaches.
Anyway, so it crashed there. So the military may have started to pick it up on radar and was tracking it, which was why
they were there fairly fast.
Yeah.
Maybe they shot it.
Well, the word is, as they go along, there's a whole bunch of sightings. There was I am not saying any of these words anymore. There's a lot of military movement through the area for the next couple weeks. Armed troops and trucks and vehicles from the army base. About 3 weeks later, the sisters that saw it, they tell a story of guys coming in suits to their door, offering them lots of money if they don't say anything about it.
Kind of like what happened with Nikola Tesla.
A little bit of Men in Black action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The guy who collected Nikola Tesla's belongings claims, well, he bought them at an auction, and he claims that shortly after he received them, like, people showed up at his house and really didn't give him an option. They were just like, yeah, we've come to take these things.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And he did a lot of things with contact from other worlds. That was kind of his niche. He wanted to prove that they had been reaching out to us in various ways, and we just were unable to understand.
Yeah. I remember that. So then on January 20th, the fire department received a call that a wild animal had been spotted in the woods near a district. Not even saying names anymore. Now, in Brazil, the firemen are all members of military police, so they're kind of a police officer fireman. And then those firemen are responsible for kind of wild animal capture and release. So they kind of hold a lot of hats. They found 5 civilians, a man and a woman, and 3 boys, 12 to 14 years of age, all passersby at the scene watching the creature that had gone down a steep embankment towards the woods. The boys had been throwing stones at it to get a reaction from it, but the woman made him stop. So they see a creature wandering down a steep hill, and, boys do what boys do. They start chucking stones at it. Now, part of the argument with this is there was a homeless guy that was well known around that had been out in the sun a lot. So he had really dark complected skin and he was very emaciated. So some of the people that came forward say, oh, it must be another homeless guy or this guy, we'll call him Homeless Joe. But the boys and the man and the woman that were there that saw it, they say it wasn't him. They were familiar with him, and they say it wasn't him. So the firemen immediately told all 5 to leave, went down the bank, crossed over the railroad tracks, and entered the woods in search of the creature. So they're running through, and this, we're talking the steepness of this is about a, I don't know, 30% grade. It says in about 100 meters, it drops 50 meters. So, I mean, that's a 50% grade. That's steep. So you're talking.
Yeah.
So there's a railroad cut at the bottom. They run down to the railroad cut. Now, it says in there, if you're not careful and you go down it too fast, the way it cuts into the railroad, people end up accidentally running and tumbling off the side of the railroad path because it's a railroad cut, so it's built up like a dugway. So it's probably a steep fall on the other side of that. It took the firemen 2 hours to capture the creature, probably partly because it kept running away from them in the dense bushes. And
Okay. To capture?
Yes. And partly because they were afraid of whatever it was. Now, the claim is it gave off a strong offensive odor, and a lot of people say the creatures made a buzzing sound that sounded like a beehive.
No, I can't.
Yeah.
Okay, that's something I had never considered. Like,
That they
instead of like growling, do they, like, you remember that show, The Grudge?
Oh,
where
yeah.
she just makes that ticking kind of sound, like, but it's like a tick, 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 tick.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. I'd never thought about the various noises that alien life forms may make.
Yep. Now, they captured and carried it up the long hill. A commander had arrived, as had an army truck with 2 officers and a sergeant. The creature was handed over to the soldiers, and then they all just dispersed. They all left. Then about 2:00 that afternoon, a jogger saw 7 armed soldiers cross a small footbridge from Santana district, don't know where that's at exactly, into a huge pasture, and immediately south of those same woods. The bridge is at the bottom of a long sloping hill leading across a pasture to the railroad tracks, and it's higher up, and the street is higher up than the bridge, and the fire trucks were up on the street. 2 of the 7 soldiers were carrying what appeared to be automatic rifles and sidearms. From the footbridge to the street above the woods is at least 600 meters. The jogger had intended to take a shortcut across the bridge, but decided not to. He saw the soldiers. He was going to jog across the bridge, and I mean, that'd be
something's going on.
Yeah.
I think I'll wait.
That'd make me take the long path home.
For sure.
So the soldiers walked up a hill, inspected a small grove of trees near the railroad track, and then moved back towards the big woods. And then as they did that, they fanned out into a tactical formation. The jogger saw him enter the woods, and then a few minutes later, he heard 3 shots. And 3 gunshots. And so he got the hell out of there. He ran off.
Okay. So
Count
all of
aliens
these,
now, like 7.
yeah.
So they've got one army truck that's just stacked like cords of wood. These aliens in it, dead or dying.
How close together are all of these encounters?
We're
Are
talking.
these like all collectively about one visitation?
Most of these are during January.
Holy cow.
We got January 13th through the 20th. So the aircraft crashes, the aliens disperse, and then they're getting low and fast the whole time, just running around.
Oh.
So then there were other so the army truck kept pulling up to all these places, and they're just throwing these body bags up into the truck. And none of those soldiers that were in the truck came forward to say how many were in there or anything of that. But the officer that was there, one of the captain or lieutenant, whatever that was there, he died about 2 months later from an unknown disease.
Radiation.
His children are saying it's because of this.
Okay, so tell me, with your military experience, when do military come in with body bags?
Well,
Is it common?
it is common. Every unit has body bags in their TO&E. And like say a unit that's next to yours get significant damage, they will call you in to do what's called grave and recovery patrols. And you go around and pick up pieces of people and throw them in bags.
So that would be during wartime, obviously.
Wartime, but they do have the body bags in their supply room all the time. But this is military. And military police, just like regular police, I'm sure has a much larger stockpile.
So there would be an instance where perhaps they would be called in, but wouldn't there have to be some preceding event that people would have heard about?
It could have been. It could have been those first soldiers that encountered that craft down. Maybe then they called and said, okay, bring body bags because we've got to grab onto these.
Weird.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, because none of body bags would have to have something in them. And there would have to be some kind of event to have stacked body bags, like, an explosion of some kind leaving.
Well, there could have been dead aliens in the ship.
That's what I'm saying. So if we can't explain it any other way, what else would be in these body bags?
Yeah. And I did training. I never had to pick up any bodies, but during the training, they have dummies laying out on the ground and pieces of dummies. So we had to go. I mean, you just threw everything in bags.
And has there been an official story from their military?
No. But before we go further on to that, let's knock out the news real quick.
Oh, the news. Okay. You go first.
All right. I shall go first. So the last standing, the very last standing Blockbuster is now an Airbnb.
What?
Yeah, they took the Blockbuster.
The actual...
Yeah.
Stop it. Do they have movies in there?
Yeah, they've got...
And a VCR?
Yeah, viewing room, a whole everything.
Because we're talking VCR tapes or VHS tapes.
Hey, it might, but that's pretty neat. So it's in Bend, Oregon, and I guess they've been wondering what to do with this last Blockbuster. So they took a little corner of it, put like a little, room
sitting area,
and all the movies are still stacked in its place. And
stop.
just go in there and Blockbuster it up.
I love it. I want to go visit.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, isn't it?
What? That's a great idea. What other turn of the century things could we turn into being Airbnbs? What else have we lost? Drive-in theaters are going to have to be Airbnbs before long. There's a few left, but they're getting more scarce.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
My story.
Yeah, can you share it on the screen?
I don't think so. Let me see if it will let me here. Yeah, it won't let me. It's a video. Maybe you can pull it up.
Well, go ahead and get started telling us about it.
So this video is coming to us from a Florida highway. I actually saw it, just a clip of it on, I think it was Facebook. This truck driver at an on-ramp, he was traveling southbound on a turnpike when a guy in a Toyota SUV exited his car on the ramp, walked across the highway divider, and jumped onto the truck, like the hood of the truck. So the footage of this guy driving down the highway in Florida, I mean, he's hauling butt, and he's trying to shake this guy off the hood. And he's pulled over by a patrolman, but not before this video goes viral. Like, this truck driver is, I'm sure, given the state that this country's in right now, probably thought he was being looted.
Oh, yeah.
And so the Florida Highway Patrol has to pull this truck over to get him to stop, because he just keeps speeding up and slowing down and speeding up and stomping on the brakes. Like, what is this guy doing? He's got his hands inside the hood and he is hanging on for dear life. Now, the man was taken to the hospital because apparently there was some mental issue.
Oh, really?
But no arrests have been made yet.
So he jumped out of his vehicle and jumped on
Yes.
the hood of this. Was
Crossed
he
the
in the vehicle?
Yeah. Like, okay, I've stood next to a big semi on many occasions. How do you get up there? Like, what? Do you play basketball? What's happening?
The guy is a joyrider, it looks like.
Nope, this one's a different one. Man steals Florida Highway Patrol cruisers. What you're looking at? That's even worse.
All right, Florida man. Oh yeah, let's see if I can see it on here. Okay.
Put clutching hood of moving semi truck. It's crazy though. I can't imagine.
He rode for 9 miles.
How you got up there? Like how? Yeah, he jumps on the hood, and this trucker ain't messing around. He's gonna shake him off or run him over. You know, however this goes down. This feller that jumped on the hood, he is fortunate that a police officer was in the vicinity and could pull this guy over.
There it is. That's the guy.
Let me see. Yeah. So a passerby gets a video.
He's banging on it too. What is he trying to stop it for?
Look at him.
Holy cow. That guy's going for it.
Yeah.
That's craziness.
Yeah, he just jumps on, and the truck driver's swinging back and forth into the other lane, trying to shake him off. Can you imagine if he had shaken him off? he'd have probably been hit by, the rear axles of that very truck.
Semi was hauling a pup too, so
Yeah.
those get notoriously shaky.
Yeah. Nuts. Florida guy.
Oh,
Hitchhiking a ride.
Florida's bringing it. All right, so back to the story. James is questioning where the alien ship is at. So there's the chirp again. We should do a chipmunk show. Anyhow, so the reports is that they gathered all of the bodies and the aliens and the ship and took them back to that Three Cockroaches base. And then the U.S. Army came down. The U.S. came down and collected it all and brought it up here.
Oh, now I think I had heard about that exchange, because then
Yeah, Chiago told us.
first time a Brazilian was able to go to the space station.
Mm-hmm. Now, I've got a few questions.
Okay.
If there is, I have thoughts on this. Let's say it's all true. Let's say the aliens are all real, everything else. If they can make it here, either flying across the galaxy or popping in and out of wormholes and everything else, why are we shooting at them? Because if they decide to shoot back, their guns are probably better. And
Fear.
yeah, still,
It's a knee-jerk reaction.
get
It's
mad
fear.
about it. What if Gleek Glorp's dad decides to get revenge, or his brother, like on all them redneck shows?
There's got to be some training for, our military, obviously, but even like civilian patrols, like police officer and otherwise. Because if there is going to be contact, which I'm telling you, there's going to be contact. If there is, we can't just go in expecting to win a fight.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't have any desire to meet any aliens. James might disagree, but I don't want to meet him. I mean, unless I'm going to their planet, which means that we're more technologically advanced and I have a chance.
Yeah, I think the protocol needs to change. Maybe this Space Force, will actually have some protocols.
Maybe they've got a ambassadorship.
Yeah.
Now,
Can you imagine
an
an embassy, a Mars embassy in like Florida?
Now, yeah, oh yeah, or on the moon.
Yeah.
So Varginha has totally bought into it. The whole area, the whole county has. So
It's too coincidental. Too many sightings, too many weird things, too many people involved.
that could have just been a rash of people jumping on the bandwagon. But so what they have done is they built a water tower in 2001. Looks like a flying saucer. Like it's
I want one.
yeah, it's pin shaped. It's everything.
Well, they should have done it like the cigar shape with the big crack and filled it full of like a smokestack.
Have a special section. I'll try to pull up a picture of said water tower. But yeah, they bought into it. They've totally they're running with it. And it's been a boost to their economy. They get more tourism than anywhere. Except
that is sweet. There's a little green alien at the bottom.
Yep. Well, it's like there's a store down there.
They need one of those at Area 51.
They do. They really do. But they had nothing like that at Area 51. Area 51 was just a
desert.
Yeah, just in
dust, like my backyard.
Here's another picture of the alien, the blood red eyes, and it has. So the girls, I mean, they thought they saw the devil, so they went.
The Varginha accident.
Or
Varginha. Ooh, no. I can't. That
yeah,
thing's terrifying.
yeah, it's pretty spooky. It's pretty spooky. But apparently, this is the UFO incident. This is like James says. This is the Roswell of Brazil. This is their
Ooh.
big incident. Lots of people involved. Lots of military. A whole bunch of stuff. James is wondering why would they all be coming here?
Right. Accident. I'm
Accident,
calling it.
purpose, accident, whatever.
Well, what purpose other than exploration? Obviously, they're much higher technologically and otherwise.
Oh yeah,
What would be their purpose other than viewing, like when we go to the zoo and watch those groundhogs dig around?
could be, or like on that invasion movie we watched where they wanted all the water.
Okay, so we are a water planet.
Mm-hmm.
So perhaps resources.
Yep.
You would think, well, maybe that particular incident was exploration for resources and it kind of went awry. But you would think that they would come prepared to, take the resources somehow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's hard to imagine.
Well, let's see if anyone wants to call in and talk about it. If anyone,
James should call in and chat. Maybe he can tell us why he thinks
yeah, if you've got
they're
Skype,
here.
it's Jared at thewildpod.com. And then it falls under Jared Anderson. No picture. We can give you the Zoom number if you want to call in on Zoom, if you have that ability.
What would you do if you came face to face with one of those?
I'd become.
Would you tell people? Because I think perhaps there's this, you would shy away from telling people.
If you ever see me running,
That's how we'll know.
lion, alien.
I don't know if I would tell people. I would tell you. You would probably not believe me, so then I would go tell James. And he would believe me.
Yeah.
Or I would tell Robin, she would believe me.
Yeah.
There's a handful of people that I think would believe me.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe.
But I think there's likely more people who have had these strange encounters that they have just used, kind of the opposite of confirmation bias and been like, okay, so clearly I was just seeing something. And then they have not told anybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know if I saw an alien, would I mean, I'd probably tell close friends.
Yeah, like I saw something weird. I'm not sure what it was.
James, do you want to call in on Skype or on Zoom? James is asking what the number is.
Yeah, I don't know why they would be here. I think that's a legitimate question. It's hard to assume because we would look at it from a human standpoint and the reasons we do things. Sometimes we do things just for entertainment, but perhaps if you're more highly evolved, then that becomes a waste of your time and energy. And so you no longer do things for entertainment.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Yeah, it would be hard to pin down exactly, looking at it from, our humanoid brains.
Yeah, and the aliens were said to be between 4 foot and 5 foot tall.
Okay.
Emaciated looking, really thin, brown, red eyes, with those 3 bulbous horns, racing stripes.
And that, again, it would be interesting if we ever get to a point where we can explore like where these aliens reside.
Maybe you can become an ambassador.
Well, it'd be interesting to understand why they've evolved the way that they have, and if we do share any kind of like DNA or genetic coding, because the darker skin, would.
Cody says we'd make him wear a mask.
We would. God. We'd hate for you to die of COVID.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm telling you, I'm seeing so many people driving around in their vehicles all
By
alone with the
themselves.
mask on.
By themselves with the mask on.
I can't handle it.
Yeah, that
By themselves, cruising around with their mask on, so they don't give COVID to themselves. Apparently, it's the weirdest thing.
Yeah. It's insanity. We're going to have to. I don't know. I wanted to have a nice alien show before we embark on our next shows. We got about a month coming up of the current events.
I've got a really scary one for our next one.
Do ya?
I'm going to cover the Sally House. That is a terrifying story. It's more of a poltergeist kind of story.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get ready to close the show down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So much to think about.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us. A couple upcoming shows. So we have the Sally House. I want to do the Blue Berets, kind of dig in deep on them. I want to, just kind of, I want to do this. What's his name? Robert Lear. He is he's a podiatrist that became an alien researcher that started removing implants.
Oh, yeah.
So I've been reading a couple of his books. Cody asked if the Greys wear people costumes.
Can you imagine?
Like us.
They go home, zip. No.
Yeah, well, thanks for joining us. James, we'll get you set up sometime. We'll have to have James come back in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool story.
Betsy's got her remote set up so we can start doing stuff. We've got to figure out how to get it to where she can share her screen so that she can pull up her news stories directly from the source. We're not filtering my illiterate computer button. And I'm going to take a break from doing any foreign stories for a minute. Sacrifice and stumble.
Yes.
But yeah, thanks for joining us. And we will see you guys next week. And Betsy will take care of the chirp.
That's what chirp?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Have a great week.
Not a sign of a human. Why does it feel still? Not a sign of a human.